Twister is directed by Jan De Bont. Came out in 1996. A couple of years before, Jan De Bont directed Speed with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock and had a massive box office hit. Twister was also a massive box office hit, and it looked as if Jan De Bont was on course to have a pretty illustrious career in movie making. And then he followed Twister up with Speed 2, Cruise Control. Anyway, so that sort of scuppered his career, unfortunately. He's now retired, but he did give us Twister and he gave us Speed. And I watched Twister, as you might have seen in my previous physical media pickup. I picked this up from CEX last weekend, and I've been sort of thinking over the last few days I'm going to sit and watch this. Now I haven't had a chance until last night, Thursday night, and I sat and watched this film. And I'd seen it twice before, so I think I saw it in the cinema, and I probably saw it again when it came out possibly on video. I've not seen it for a good 15, 20 years. My abiding memory, as I mentioned again in that previous video, is this is a film about a bunch of very stupid people who are chasing tornadoes. And it's very hard to have sympathy with people who repeatedly put themselves in danger. It's often described as a disaster movie, but I think of the classic disaster movies as Your Poseidon Adventures, Towering Inferno, Earthquake. Those films where unfortunate are caught in the eye of some terrible disaster and they have to try and survive. And I found it hard to put this in that category when the people were ultimately endangering themselves. I rewatched it again last night, and it is better than I remembered. I still have that niggling, why are you doing this, you fools? You're just driving into these raging tornadoes. But there is a logic to it, there is a sense to it, and there is a disaster movie element, because there is a sequence I'd forgotten about in a drive-in theatre, which is sort of demolished by a tornado, and you do see briefly other people who are in some danger. But the core story revolves around a character played by Helen Hunt. She's a tornado obsessive whose father, as we see in a sequence set in 1969 at the beginning, her father is swept away by a tornado, and that's obviously informed her life choices ever since. She wants to find out what makes tornadoes tick so that they're not quite so dangerous in the future. She's just about to get divorced from her husband, Bill Paxton. He brings his new girlfriend along to an expedition she's about to go on to get divorce papers signed. She, meanwhile, has created this new device called a Dorothy, which is a nod to Wizard of Oz, of course, which is a sort of a drum device filled with these little globes, sensors that will, if the whole device is whipped up by a tornado, will get into the eye of the storm and find out what makes tornadoes tick, because people don't really know exactly what causes tornadoes and what constitutes them, what goes on at the eye of the storm. And these sensors are designed to find out a bit more and improve our knowledge of tornadoes and what makes them tick, as it were. Inevitably, they get caught up in a tornado. Things go horribly wrong. They get caught up in another tornado. There's another group of rival tornado hunters on their path who've got more sophisticated equipment and have stolen some of their ideas. So this is the melting pot of the film, really. This is basically what it is. It's very straightforward linear narrative. It's all set outdoors, which is quite nice, apart from one or two brief scenes. And I think, bearing in mind it was made in 1996, visually it stands up quite well. I think the effects are generally pretty good. There's one or two sort of shonky little bits where you think, bearing in mind how 26 years ago is our lifetime in visual effects work, it still looks good. I watched it on my TV, the sound was up, and the soundscape is incredible with all the wind and thrashing, and it's quite a very intense soundscape to it. And visually it does look very good. You've got things flying about the place. There's the famous sequence, of course, with a cow flying across the screen. There's another bit with a massive oil tanker which flies in front of I can't remember the name of the characters, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt's characters, as they're driving into the eye of this thing, which does lead to one stupid piece of dialogue from Bill Paxton, where this thing is rolling towards them, this oil tanker, and it's, this ain't good. I mean, really, if you can't think of a better line of dialogue than that, just don't put in something stupid like that, because no, this ain't good. And it leads to this huge climax where Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, I wish I could remember the names of their characters. Sorry, didn't look them up. Their vehicle's been trashed. The rival storm chaser out of the picture, as it were, and they're just trapped outside of this massive tornado which is demolishing everything in its path. And it gets a bit silly because they have these narrow escapes. They go into a barn which is full of all these metal rails and railings and God knows what. And all these things are flying everywhere and they narrowly miss them. Outside, fences are being thrown up and bits of wood and cars and things just flying right. So they have these incredible and fanciful narrow escapes from all this devastation. But escape it they do. And it follows a predictable line. If you've not seen it and you watch it, you know where it's going. I think the fun is in watching all the chaos that ensues with these tornadoes. Now, I don't know anything about tornadoes in America. I don't know if they are really this vicious and devastating. Possibly they are, because you do hear stories about them, uprooting houses and things. Whether they're on this apocalyptic scale, I wouldn't like to say. But up on screen, it looks really good. And that's always a worry with an old film which is in this genre. Is it going to stand up visually? And I think, to be fair, I think Twister did. It sort of held up. My criticisms about the characters are still there. They're well-drawn characters and they're interesting. But you do sort of think, well, I find it hard to sympathise with people who put themselves in danger, and that's what they do constantly throughout the film. But it's visually compelling enough for you to sort of think, well, I can let that go. And I enjoyed it much more than I thought it would, having previously been a bit mean about it. And I think possibly I would have previously given it a 4 or 5 out of 10. This time, today, I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10. Twister, which I thought I'd watch now because, as I mentioned, there is a sequel in development, slightly belated sequel, and it'll be interesting to see that because I'm sure the special effects will be a few notches above this one and possibly go over the top, as tends to happen as technology improves. I think film producers feel they've got to go a bit further with it. But I had a good time with it. I didn't mean to say that. I enjoyed it. And it was well worth revisiting, and I'm glad I picked it up as Twister, which is, of course, available on Blu-ray. And I watched it on Blu-ray because I couldn't find it on a streaming service, so I bought it on Blu-ray. I thought I'd watch it again. So that's Twister, which is my retro movie review for today. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, as usual, press that subscribe button, please. That would be marvellous. Also, give me a thumbs up and a comment. Share and tell your friends. Coming up next will be my review, slightly belated, of John Wick 4, which I'm planning to see on Sunday. It's now Friday. So I'll be seeing that on Sunday, and I'll put up a review either Sunday night or Monday, sometime during the day Monday. Right, thank you for watching. Keep in touch. Send me a postcard. Happy Easter. And I'll see you soon until I do. You know what they say. Keep taking the stuff.